we have David Navara in our studio, who is a local hero who has played all the tournaments, all the editions, and seems like you have a really good tournament here, David, and you enjoy to be here. So please tell us overall how the tournament goes for you.
The tournament goes surprisingly well for me because I have 4 points out of 6 games. I even played some really good chess. I mean, today I was rather lucky because it was not such a great game, but I have not expected such a good result at all because my recent results were not great. Also, it's true that recently I was making too many draws, which was not good in leagues, but here it is not a problem. So also probably everybody wants to beat me, so it means that now I can play differently and that being solid is not a problem this time, or trying to be solid. Today I was not quite solid. And I like the tournament quite a lot, its atmosphere and so on. Of course, it's also tiring to play such a strong event. I mean, I turned 40 last year, and I had more energy before, but at least I prepared a bit in advance. I mean, more than usually I do. So at least I saved some time and energy by preparing before.
And how does it feel when you see a lot of fans, local people coming to this tournament? A lot of kids want to have photos with you, and you're very kind to make this effort even before the game. So in general, how does that feel?
I like this because I also, last but not least, because I don't get so much attention that it would become a burden, because I can imagine that if for some stronger players there are so many people asking for autographs and so on, it might easily turn into a burden when it is too much of it, but it's not my case. I mean, I'm not such a big star. I am glad that...
Wait a moment, you're a very big star. He's a big star, right? Yes, you're a very big star, David. You're very humble. You're a superstar.
I'm glad when someone wants an autograph and so on, but it's true that after some very tough games I was really tired, so it was not easy. And I remember that last year I drew in the last... 2 years ago, I drew in the last round against Prague, and it was a tough game. I was a pawn down and saved a draw. And then someone asked me for a signature, and I put the paper on some desk, but there was some lower ceiling, so I signed it and then hit myself in the head. And I mean, it was I was just very tired then, and I'm not very careful in this respect in general. So now I have a bit more energy. Also, last year I arrived directly from almost directly from a previous tournament where I had fallen ill a bit. So today, this time I have more energy and better preparation.
Well, David, you tried today to hunt your opponent's rook on b5. Let's take a look at your game, if you can share your opinion about the game and the key moments, and also why do you like to hunt the rooks? Because in the first round you did this against Parham. Now you again wanted to have Van Foreest rook on b5. What is this sequence?
I'm generally good at exploiting tactical mistakes from my opponents. So actually, it's interesting how chess has changed in the past decade or so, because what Jorden played was very unusual. unusual, and I mean, a decade ago it would look like a very unambitious way of playing, but nowadays when any main lines are analyzed almost till the end, it's rather the other way around. That white plays something untheoretical, wants to get play and outplay the opponent later on. So it has changed a lot in this respect. I reacted carefully, and at this point I became a bit careless, because I think if I realized in time that knight d2 was the main idea, I would have played rook takes d1 check, rook takes d1 bishop b7, and then
we can make it on the
yes, then at least there is one pair of rooks less, and white is probably still slightly better, but here I can also consider playing rook d8. I have already been in Czech commentator room, so I saw some evaluations here. I mean, not evaluations, just the bar, so I know that it's playable, but basically I realized it after my move that I should have gone for this, because now it's getting a bit unpleasant. For example, if I play rook d7, the problem is that white exchanges a pair of rooks and then pushes b5. I don't want to go to a5 unless being forced to, and now white has a4 and a5 later on, or maybe something like this. So it explains why I played in such a strange way in the game, because with pawn on f4, bishop c5 becomes a good option in some lines. So okay, I played knight d7 after a long time, maintaining symmetry, and I saw f4, but just underestimated it a lot, and now my pieces are standing in another's way. White wants to play mainly bishop f3 and sometimes also knight c4, knight d6, and basically this spin might become very unpleasant, because I probably have okay, sooner or later I should do something with it, but it's very hard to unpin. Even after bishop e8, I still cannot unpin. So it's a problem, and I didn't react optimally, but reacted somehow. Knight f6. At least I decided to play a bit faster in order to avoid big time trouble. Here I had some idea, like knight e5. Rook d2, and in the commentary section we saw that it doesn't work. I found the refutation when I was there, because I mean when I was showing this line in the commentary section, this bar, evaluation bar, was rising for white, so I realized what was the problem. There is bishop f3 and bishop d1, and black has to give up a pawn somehow, and it's no good. So here it's a very unpleasant position. I considered various knight e8 ideas and f6, which was sensible but unpleasant position, so I decided to defend actively. Basically, I had those a5 ideas at various points, but here the problem is that if I play like this, white has knight b1, knight c3, attacking my weak pawns a4 and d5, and this is bad for black. So I played a useful move f6, and now I saw this rook d1 coming, but underestimated it as usually. Basically, I was wondering whether a5 was the idea or not. With knight e6, the problem is that white can push f5, and I'm not exactly losing. I can play it like this, but it feels very odd with white's knight on c6. My rook is not that great, and I was reluctant to play like this. And also there was one problem. I mean, a5 was an idea, but I was not sure about positions like this, because if I play knight c7, I'm just positionally lost. I have no counterplay, and if I play knight c5, there is king e2, and there is not so much counterplay either. And if I play king f7, I was not sure about f5. This didn't appeal to me, with b6 being weak and a3 being less weak.
So you waited rook to go on d1 to then play f5?
I just wanted to make a useful move, king f7, and see what to do next. After f5, I would have gone probably for some g6, g4, and a5 at some point, not necessarily right now. And after rook d1, actually my initial idea was, I saw that a5 was there sometimes, but I had this idea and maybe knight e6, but it's just terrible, it's just lost. So I played a5 out of necessity and hoped to exchange the b pawns at least. Here I needed to generate some counterplay before white could consolidate. I don't know, maybe knight c7, knight b5 was more appropriate, hard to say really. My intention here was rook b5, rook c6, and here I hoped to catch the rook in a similar way to Paham Maksudlu's game. I'm threatening knight c7 now, and here my original intention was to go bishop d8, but there are also some problems because in this position I was not sure whether black would hold by waiting or not. From the commentary section I learned that it's not defensible. White has some way to improve here the position, but I saw anyway that black could play king d7 here. I saw it during the game. It was not my first idea in the position, but it works. If white takes, this should be defensible without too many problems because pawns are on one flank. I will play king e6, f5 for example. And white cannot play here king e2 because of this trick. We have already seen something similar. So king e1, and I expected f5 and was not that optimistic. I mean, I saw that I had some ideas like knight a6 or knight b5 and king e8 at some point, but I don't know if it works like this and how much does it work. There are also some problems here, and I didn't know. I mean, the problem with king e8 is this, as I learned in the commentary section. So I can take and hope to hold. Maybe, I don't know, maybe some g6 or h5 could be reasonable ideas here. Probably g6 to get rid of the f pawn and to activate my king, or liberate my king rather than activate. And here I was surprised by this because I saw bishop c5, and initially I believed it to be a draw like this, and now I take on d2 and so on, but I didn't realize that I had just something like this, and it's probably technically winning. I'm probably winning the c5 pawn somehow, and say this way, and rook a6, and then white's king is too far probably. So I didn't realize this, and I didn't understand what was going on when Jorden played bishop c3, because my idea was, okay, I'm making a draw here in any way, why bishop c3? So it cost me some time to readjust to playing to a win. I saw that this was just a dead draw, knight e4, and white is probably not even a pawn down here. So instead I went rook b1, and I thought to myself, okay, I will try to play this for a win. I will play knight c7. After king c2, I can just take on b5 and on c3. And here, if white takes, I will play some knight d5, and now probably bring the knight to c6 to blockade the pawn. Although, I mean, maybe I should attack e3 instead and just bring the king to d7. I don't know, but I understood that it was risk-free, and it looked nice, but white played king f2, and now I suddenly didn't understand like what was happening, what was going on. I expected taking here, which is again risk-free for black, and at this point I originally thought that rook c1 was the move. But the problem is that white takes and takes, and if I play knight d6, I can play on, but it didn't look very realistic to win this. I was rather skeptical, and I was down to last seconds also. I think bishop d4 is a move, and even if we exchange on b6, white will play some king f3, maybe knight e4, and it's hard to imagine black winning such an endgame, although black can play on, of course, but the problem was that here I spent I had spent too much time and didn't readjust to playing for a win. This rook c2 doesn't work. I saw a nice line actually, like b7 check, and I thought king e2, which is winning. Actually, knight takes e4 is not losing either. I mean, it's just fine. Probably, but okay, well, black wins the b7 pawn sooner or later, so king e2 is winning, so no need for this line. And actually rook d1 is quite challenging for white, because white's pieces lack coordination. Now the line doesn't work because black has rook takes d2, but I didn't see this. I mean, just I was too low on time to realize all the subtleties. Here, knight d5, this is really unpleasant for white. White is probably going to lose the c5 pawn and then fight for a draw. Probably it's tenable, but no fun. But I mean, I was going down to last seconds, below 10 seconds, as far as I can remember, which is not that terrible, but okay, I have this knight e4, which I saw, so I was not risking. White is not risking either. I mean, at this point, I could play king, sorry, not e7, there is a fork, king e6, and like this, but I didn't consider it a realistic winning attempt because white can give checks here, and king d7 is playable with some knight e6 idea, but I thought that pushing here for a win could actually have an adverse effect. Of course, normally not, but I mean, to me, it looked like just very drawish, and if black really pushed like the b pawn somehow with the king, and then what could sometimes appear with the passed e pawn, give the knight or the b pawn, and go forward with the pawn. Of course, it's unrealistic. It's just drawish, and if anyone is very slightly better here, it's black. But generally, it's a draw, and I mean, I didn't play very ambitiously here. There were enough adventures, and my position had been so unpleasant before that I was very happy that I haven't lost this game.
Yeah, indeed. It was actually very interesting game, and you found this very nice active defense as you mentioned, and we really enjoyed to see this game at the commentary, and now our viewers can have your insights. We're going to put also the chessboard on the video, and they can follow everything. So David, thank you so much to being so kind and share your thoughts. I don't want to keep you any longer here because you were also at the commentary, so I think you need now some rest.
Yes.
And best of the luck, and hopefully to have you back in the studio.
Okay, thank you, Kati. Have a good evening, and thank you for watching the video.
Thanks.